Another wild week of fantasy football is in the books, and in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down 5 wide receivers that surprisingly underproduced in Week 8 action, and going forward into Week 9 here, I'm looking to buy low on these opportunities and take advantage of some discounted prices here to accumulate more valuable players for my fantasy roster. So these are the names we'll be covering in today's episode. Again, 5 buy low or must buy wide receivers, if you will. If you're new around here to the channel, make sure you drop on down, smash that subscribe button, and turn the bell on so you're never late for a piece of content. I'm posting 4 fantasy trade advice segments today on our channel in our Week 9 playlist for fantasy advice for this week. So go check all that stuff out, and I will see you in the video. Let's get started. All right, hopefully this trade episode stands the test of time better than my episode did last week. We had Jamar Chase, who I had in a package deal looking for, players who had lost Breece Hall and some other running backs in a 2-for-1 deal. I think I had some guys take advantage of that, and then ultimately within 48 hours of posting that video, he is out for 4 to 6 weeks, and then that was basically shot, and we had some other stuff going on in that video too. So this video, we'll be kicking things off here with Keenan Allen, one of my favorite buys of this week, actually, of the LA Chargers. Now, the reason we're buying Keenan Allen is because of a limited usage against Seattle in his game back from his hamstring issue sustained in Week 1. The reason I love this is because you get that recency bias of the bad game. Then you move into the bye week where he's not contributing to your fantasy team. It just gives players the sense, especially owners that are frustrated, impatient, and whatnot, the idea that he's just really not a competent piece to contribute to your lineups here and is more of a liability than an actual asset here. But if you really look at the situation, break things down, and can have a focused lens of perspective on this situation here, you've got yourself a player who is incredibly talented, a high-volume slot wide receiver for an elite NFL quarterback in Justin Herbert that has his second best, competition for targets, Mike Williams, out of the game with an ankle injury. The fact that he's going to be soaking up volume over the next 3 to 4 game stretches without Williams on the field and just getting peppered in looks. So there's a lot of volume on the table, a great quarterback that you're tied to. He should be extremely healthy, barring injury setback to his hamstring, coming off the bye week and having extended rest here. This, to me, seems like a recipe for fantasy football success for Keenan Allen here, especially in those PPR formats, and I am looking to take full advantage of this here as we move into Week 9 and beyond. So this might be your last opportunity to buy low on Keenan for this season. I don't imagine that over the next month he's going to have more than one down performance, so take advantage of this while this lasts here. If you're hurting at the wide receiver position, maybe you're the team that lost Jamar Chase, try and use some of your bench assets or some of your other players to make a deal happen here, because I think the draft, or not the draft price, but the trade stock is significantly discounted here. This is like a Black Friday fire sale, if you will. You want to be buying everything and putting this in your shopping cart here. Chris Olave, wide receiver rookie for the New Orleans Saints, actually the leading receiver in the rookie class of 2022 here. Chris Olave is someone that I've become extremely fond of here. I loved him coming into the draft. His production has screamed alpha wide receiver throughout this year. Now, he's coming off of having a 4-game streak of 13 or more fantasy points and half PPR scoring over his last month. That streak was snapped this week with 5 receptions for 52 yards. Why didn't he run the football? Why didn't he catch the football more in this game? The Saints flat out pummeled the Las Vegas Raiders. A, the Raiders never passed midfield with Derek Carr as their quarterback in that contest. And B, they scored 0 frickin' points, which obviously if you're not passing the 50-yard line, you are likely, unless you have just the most unstoppable kicker in NFL history, getting points from beyond the 50-yard line, because if you kicked it from the 50, plus 10 yards of end zone would be 60 yards, and then wherever you snap the ball back to would be like a 67-yard kick. So that didn't happen. No points for the Raiders here. Game script was a problem, unexpectedly. Didn't expect them to win by 3 touchdowns, and all 3 of those TDs having a technical 2-point conversion. Now, that's not how they got the points, but you get what I'm saying here. So, basically, extremely poor game script. You didn't need to pass the ball. It just worked out that way this week. Not worried, not concerned. His fellow receivers continue to be banged up and battered. Olave is the wide receiver 1, clearly the alpha for this team when they're out of there. And Jameis Winston's coming back this week, hopefully, so that gives you opportunity for more air yards over the top of the defense. So take these things into consideration. Again, buy low on Chris Olave. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another player that I've felt a lot of polarization about in the comment section in our community Discord server. There's a lot of people freaking out on ARSB. Now, part of this is injury related. It's been out of his control to an extent. He had the concussion that forced him out very early a couple weeks back. And then he comes back here against Miami. Once again, characteristically for Amon-Ra, gets peppered in targets. He actually had 10 of them. And I actually had people, and this is not me like bashing him or anything, because I honestly didn't see either during live action. I had to go back and look at the snap count percentages, because whenever we saw the Lions show up on red zone, it was basically the Dolphins had the football and they were driving. So they asked, like, hey, is Amon-Ra St playing? Because it had been getting close to halftime and the production was very limited. Like, what's going on with him? So I go and check in here, and lo and behold, the targets are coming in. The volume necessarily isn't turning into production per se. But at the end of the day, again, he had 10 targets. He had 95% of the team's offensive snap share, and he had 7 receptions for 69 yards. So was he giving you elite levels of production with those opportunities? No, but they were still there. And this is a guy who, I talk about this a lot, he plays a unique role in the slot where you've got a situation that you are infrequently pressed up in man coverage and having to beat tight coverage looks. So I just really like this. I mean, if you're getting free releases off the line of scrimmage, able to move out in space and make the most of the overall offensive opportunity that you have, that's a great situation to be in here. So for ARSB, I'm looking to go buy on him. I still think he's a fringe wide receiver 1, especially in PPR formats. This offense was humming the first month of the season, and they're trying to get healthy and get everyone back in rhythm here. It's been kind of a bumpy and friction-filled transition for getting him and Swift back in the lineup and producing, but I do think that's something that eventually happens here for this team. Davante Adams, how about an alpha wide receiver 1 here that has been, well, this past week especially was just abysmal. It was terrible. He's nearly costing me a few fantasy games this week with his 1 reception for 3 yards and his 1 carry for -2 in a half PPR format that literally netted me very close to a point. So because in the format, we basically, you go negative, you lose yardage for each yard you lost. So unfortunate stuff there. So what did he finish with? 0.6. Davante, man, I mean, it's really not his fault. I'm going to talk about this in the RB segment as well, where we talked some Josh Jacobs this week, but it wasn't a skill position problem. It was an overall offensive woeful disaster problem. Everyone from top to bottom in this offense struggled extremely. And like I said, they did not cross the midfield marker with Derek Carr as their quarterback. It wasn't until Jarrett Stidham came in late in this game that they were able to take advantage of that. So for this Raiders team, I don't think I'm ready to all-out smash the panic button. This is still, in my eyes, a top 6 to 7 fantasy wide receiver for the rest of this season. I get it. There's been some turbulence. There's been some shakiness, and this is obviously hitting rock bottom for a guy who had only 5 targets in a matchup without Marshawn Lattimore on the other side of the field against the Saints. So everything here looks ugly. There's really nothing positive to take away from this game except for the fact that his stock is now decreased, and you don't have to worry about having to pay top dollar for him prospectively, depending on your league and your league mates and how they ultimately value these players. So at the end of the day, Davante Adams, someone that I would at least toss an offer out there for you if you've got a sell high receiver for this week or an abundance of running backs, whatever the case might be. Take advantage of the situation. And then finally here, maybe my favorite player to talk through this week, and it's going to be kind of a short take here, but Kadarius Toney. Why not go and try and buy an extremely explosive, dynamic, and versatile playmaker that Andy Reid just got his hands on here. Now, what you like about this is they went out there and they traded for him. They showed the initiation to not only want to just pick him up off the waivers or sign him to a deal here, but they showed the investment that they're willing to trade away draft capital for him. So for me, at the end of the day, that is a plus. And again, this is a former first-round pick by the Giants just a season ago here that's had injuries kind of derail his career to an extent, hasn't overall been the most impactful player consistently because, again, being on and off the field, having some internal issues with the team. There's been some turbulence here, and that's fine. I think a fresh start and situation for him is what was best and most ideal, and he is so explosive. He is so shifty, such a hard tackle in space. I have a hard time believing that they're not going to get him incorporated into your offense. Now, I said this was my favorite take to talk about this week. The reasoning for that is his price and what it's going to take to acquire him in all of your leagues is going to be different. The owner or lack thereof is going to be a different situation in terms of what they want back in return for Kadarius across the board. So for some of you, the reason I say the owner or lack thereof is he might be on the waiver wire. If he is, maybe go, take a look at your roster and see if he's worth a pickup for your team. I'm not here to say that he's a top 24 wide receiver or, make any, harsh clarifications about what exactly Kadarius Toney is today. This is simply a super high upside play that could pay off big term in the long run. So I don't know if he becomes a volume receiver for this team. I do know he's explosive and will be extremely efficient with this offense. I think that eventually there is an argument to be made that he could be, one of the top 1 or 2 playmakers in that wide receiver core. Because again, you can pitch him the ball to the backfield. You can, run deep with him. You can run really dynamic plays out of the slot. There is so much at Andy Reid's fingertips now, having this level of explosiveness, this body type, and all the things that Kadarius brings to the table. So I'm probably not trading a high price for him here just because there is an uncertainty factor. After all, he has 2 receptions on the season, but really thought it was worthwhile talking through Kadarius here and the overall opportunity he presents to lineups for the rest of this season. So to recap, Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Davante Adams, and Kadarius Toney, again, in a Giants jersey with the Chiefs logo in the background, because we just don't really have any good photo edits yet or anything to access in that situation or circumstance here. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel here, click the like button, and let me know your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below, or rather your questions is really what is most important when I get you guys set up with the best situations in your trades this week. Also, our Week 9 playlist is live on the SFS channel. Go check it out and like all of our videos on there, and obviously just soak that info in and see what it can do for you in your matchups this week. So one more time, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in a future episode. We've got 4 trade videos up today. Check them out. I'll see you there. Peace out.